Hello, this is Dr. Glasbrenner from George Mason University, and in this video, we will review what science is and how it functions as a discipline. Let's begin with the basic question, what is science? Below, we'll make a list of some answers that people might give in response. 1. A set of facts. 2. Something that professional scientists do. And 3. The underlying truth about the universe. Are any of these a reasonable definition? Let's break this down. First, let's start with the answer, a set of facts. This view would mean that science, at its core, is a lot like stamp collecting. This would mean that there's a finite amount of knowledge out there, so it's just a matter of gathering all the facts together and cataloging them. However, that doesn't account for scientists constantly making new discoveries and collecting new data, expanding our knowledge of the world and what is possible. What we know can also change when technology and experiments are upgraded. So now what we thought was a rigid fact may not be after all. This is why old theories are replaced by new theories, and why scientific facts are always a work in progress. Next, let's consider if science is better defined as something that professional scientists do. So what then is a scientist? Is it a person with a PhD? Someone with the label scientist in their job title? It is difficult to continue this line of reasoning when we see that there are countless examples of amateur scientists playing a real role in discovery, even though they do not belong to any professional society. There are many such examples in astronomy, such as the discovery of yellow spaceballs in 2015, which upon further study were identified as the early stages of a massive star formation. Bird counting is primarily an amateur activity that generates valuable scientific data, such as the hawk counts posted to hawkcount.org, which are used by scientists to study migration patterns. As we can see, science is something anyone can do. How about the last definition, the underlying truth about the universe? The problem with this definition is that it conflates natural laws with science itself and seems to imply that science is infallible. This would be a mistake. Instead, science is a process. It is not dogma. Strictly speaking, science experiments cannot prove something to be true. They can only falsify hypotheses. Finally, the predictive tools of science, models and simulations, should be understood as being representations of the world to the best of our current knowledge. Yes, some of our models are extraordinarily precise, but they remain representations, not reality itself. So how should we define science then? These definitions would be reasonable. Science, a study that uses the scientific method. Natural science, the branch of science concerned with the description, prediction, and understanding of natural phenomena based on empirical evidence from observation and experimentation. Mechanisms such as peer review and repeatability of findings are used to try to ensure the validity of scientific advances. Since our definition of science referenced it, let's close our discussion by reviewing the steps of the scientific method. A typical listing of the steps is as follows. Step 1. Review the evidence. Step 2. Formulate a hypothesis. Step 3. Use the hypothesis to formulate a predictive test. Step 4. Design and run an experiment to test the prediction. Step 5. Validate or revise the hypothesis. It should be pointed out that scientific research programs don't usually adhere to this step order, so think of this more as a list of principles, not a step-by-step recipe. Regardless of the step order, the key point is this: you create a hypothesis and collect evidence to test it out, which takes the form of empirical observations. This is what makes scientific knowledge distinct from other forms of knowledge. Any knowledge or truth claim needs to be formulated into a testable hypothesis and then compared to observations of the natural world. A hypothesis can never be falsified or validated by committee vote or an individual proclamation. Going further, a well-formulated hypothesis is testable by anyone, regardless of time, place, culture, and so on. Anyone in principle can double-check an experiment, although in practice we should amend that to say if they have the necessary resources. Even with that caveat, we can still recognize science as a universal human activity for expanding our knowledge about the world.